All right, that's about close enough. Welcome everyone to what are we in September? September's community update. My name is Jason Dobies. I've been historically pretty bad about doing introductions after the first one. So a little about myself. I'm a developer relations engineer at Google, unsurprisingly working on Bazel. You've probably seen me usually asking for help or when I need something from the community, but everyone's been awesome about it. But we're not here about me. We're here to talk about IntelliJ. Before we get to that, we have a couple of announcements. Let's start with the big one, and no real surprise to anyone. It is the time of the year when peace and tranquility returns to my house that I am stuck in working from. And I think we should all celebrate. To everyone in chat who is dealing with the same level of peace and quiet and prosperity that the new school year has brought upon you. Welcome to all of you. This is a beautiful time of the year when you don't hear any screaming murderous children in the background. As for real news, cool. Oh, by the way, say hello, everyone. I meant to say that too in the intro. The chat's been a little bit quiet lately. I want to see more of hellos like this. I see Sven. I see Todd calling me out on not being late. Congratulations for being on time. I respect that. But yeah, keep the chat lively. As normal, I will field questions for our presenters as they come up and ask them when appropriate. But by all means, feel free to say hi, be friendly with everyone. Because we are hopefully going to see most of you in just about 2 months. BazelCon, the past couple of months, you've heard me limping through the announcement for when the CFP was supposed to be and then supposed to be. And now I'm here to tell you it's almost over. Timing did not particularly work out that well, but the CFP technically ends tomorrow. Realistically, for y'all who are late, you can do them up until around Sunday morning. I think Sunday night, I'm going to kind of pull them all together to make sure I have everything represented. What is CFP? CFP, the call for papers, sorry, or call for presentations. To be honest, 6 years in DevRel, and I don't think I've actually learned what it stands for. But the idea is if you are interested in coming to BazelCon and speaking about anything Bazel related, by all means, fill that out. We have a couple of different types of talks, and just to answer any questions, because a few of them have been coming in, there's the main stage for day one, the lightning talks, the technical ones, which are kind of what you'd expect out of lightning talks, and then the product ones for this year. I've gotten a couple questions on. We really want to highlight the the companies that have spawned up around Bazel and make sure they have their chance to talk about their products and what they bring to the community. So the lightning talks marked as product are especially for that. I know we've got a number of companies that are doing some really cool stuff with Bazel, helping out a lot of people. We want to give them their moment. We want to give them a chance to talk about that at BazelCon. And then the last one is the Birds of a Feather sessions, meant to be very now that I think about it, I put BOF on that. Birds of a feather. If you've never been to one, typically panel-based, but definitely more interactive. So we'll have some mics roving around the room, the ability to ask questions, be able to put our engineers on the spot. When I say IntelliJ specifically, I'm going to defer to our speakers to talk a little bit more about that. I'm excited about this because I've worked with IntelliJ for the early 2000s, probably coming up on 20 years now. And having a collaboration and actually talking to people from JetBrains has been really cool for me. So we'll let them cover the specifics, but I know exactly what you're asking there because I use IntelliJ PyCharm. And when I was learning Go, I had the Go IDE installed as well. And I think they're a huge learning tool, but nobody actually cares about me. So let's keep moving on. BazelCon stuff. So the call for papers, I've mentioned before, I haven't talked about it a ton on this stream, but I am an adjunct professor at a university nearby, and I've learned two things from the students. One is that their creativity for excuses never ceases to amaze me. And the second is that they are always late. If I set a 6 o'clock deadline, I will see people literally uploaded at 5:59. The same thing is happening with this community. Every day I come in and look at the CFP and like the number of talks have skyrocketed. So I'm expecting the next few days to be very busy on me, but don't let that defer you. Really looking for a big variety of topics. We've got some cool stuff already. So again, that's roughly this weekend. Basically, end of Sunday night is when I'm going to pull them all together. Last bit of news about BazelCon. I guess it's two things I want to point out. Number one is it is at Pier 57 in New York City. Those of you who are planning to come, there are plenty of hotels in the area. I've actually bounced around a couple of different ones right now. I mean, keep in mind it's a New York hotel, so you're looking at something the size of my office here. But start booking that now, especially if you're expecting to be out here. It is the 16th and the 17th. That's the Wednesday and Thursday of the week. So we have little travel time before and after. And keep an eye out for the registration to begin about next week. We're finishing all of the forms and emails and privacy sign-offs and things like that. The current plan is we can fit 400 people, and it's a first come, first serve basis. So you'd be waitlisted after that. If we hit that number, if I'm being completely honest, I have no idea what to expect. It is a post-COVID conference, so I don't know if we're going to get 100 people or if we're going to get 1,000, but we'll react as they come in. So keep an eye out for that. And if you are really absolutely dying to get to BazelCon, make sure you register. That also counts for those of you who have submitted and ultimately get talks accepted. You still need to register. So don't do the common mistake I do of thinking, well, I'm this big badass speaker. Clearly, they're going to take care of all of that for me. All right, with that, let's get back and meet our speakers. Okay, Mai, sorry, I just unceremoniously ripped you on stage. Why don't you introduce yourself for everyone? Still muted. See if I can unmute you. Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Mai, an engineer at Google, and currently part of the team maintaining the Bazel IntelliJ plugin.
I'm going to supplement that because I don't think it properly does justice. Mai is the go-to inside of Google for the IntelliJ stuff. This was when I was looking around for someone to ask for this, everyone kind of pointed me in her direction. So I'm really excited she's here. Joining us bright and early, right? You're in Vancouver, so it is 8 a.m. over there?
Yeah. Correct.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it. In the opposite direction, we have Justin. Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Justin. I work at JetBrains in Munich. I've been at JetBrains for over 6 years now, mostly working on Scala plugin for IntelliJ. And recently we've identified a need to support Bazel better. So we made this Bazel team inside JetBrains, and I'm the team lead. And yeah, I hope we can get the Bazel support forward soon.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here. I'm excited to have your activity on the project. You know, we're trying to move things more into the community to empower them to not necessarily have Google have this stranglehold on everything. And I think this is one of the best examples of that, of, hey, this is largely being spearheaded and run by, let's be honest, the experts here. Justin, I know you can't see chat right now, but Sven specifically said hi to you. Oh, yeah, I can do this.
I do see it, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm really excited to have this on. And like I kind of nerded out at the beginning, I have been using the suite of JetBrains products for a while now. So this is really, really cool to me to have basically be able to work with and have some context over there. Again, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you guys. So I'm going to be quiet now and let you guys start.
All right. So I think we wanted to introduce everybody to the Bazel plugin if they weren't aware yet, just how to install it and how to use it. So I'll just do the basics because Mai is definitely the professional here. So I'll just show you around where to install it if you're not familiar yet. So I'm gonna share my screen here. And excuse the infinity. So I'm gonna, Jason, you're zooming it in, right?
No, it actually is being full screen right now. That I can't do.
Oh,
I can keep us off to the side.
Then I'll just make this stuff small here. Okay,
there we go.
Better. So installing it is pretty straightforward. You just, once you have the IntelliJ open, you just go to the plugin setting and the marketplace. You search for Bazel, and it will pop up within seconds. Yeah, there we go. It's just a quick install, and it does need a quick IDE restart. Should be right back. And now we have a new button here, Import Bazel Project. So I'm just gonna choose that. You choose the path. It's already chosen here. I'll choose another instance of that to not cause any conflicts here. And so here we get our first choices. So you can create it completely from scratch, or you can choose a project view file. I'll get to what that is in a second. Or you can generate from a build file or copy a project view from somewhere else. So this project is the Bazel plugin for IntelliJ. It already comes with a project view, so I'm going to select that. And then you get the project view here right in front of you. And you can see here it has a few sections. It's a YAML file, I think. The first one being directories. So this just imports everything in the workspace, and it has a few exclusion directories. So in this case, ASWB, CLWB, that's Android Studio, CLion versions of the same plugin. You can select a few targets and add flags and sources for tests. Right. Just going to click create, and it starts importing here. So you can watch the progress right here.
This seems like a good time to jump in. A couple of people have been asking questions about the family of JetBrains IDEs. One is particularly interested in PyCharm. Someone mentioned Golang Bazel plugin. Can you talk a bit about plugin support, or at least plans, or if there's anything for the other, I don't know, 10 at this point, IDEs in the JetBrains family?
As to support for Bazel in those IDEs, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so this plugin comes in a version for CLion and for Android Studio. It could work for other IDEs, but honestly, we don't even have that entirely on our in our view yet.
Okay.
So internally, we're working on something that should work for all IDEs, but we gotta just go down the list and see that it works for some use cases such as Java and C++ first.
Sure, totally fair. I'm sorry, Mai.
Yeah, the plugin is developed for IntelliJ, CLion, and Android Studio, but the versions that we release for IntelliJ Ultimate Edition can also work with other IDEs, like, as you said, PyCharm and Golang. But since it's not developed for them, you may see some features misbehaving. So if you see that, you can always go back to IntelliJ UE and develop in the language you want by using the plugin for that language. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So I saw Thevi on the stream. Thevi, take note. We have specific questions about Golang and PyCharm, and I know that infinite resources, we could get all this stuff done. There's prioritization, but we'll talk more in a little bit. I should say the speakers will mention the IntelliJ working group. That is a decent place to come and start to bring up these kind of concerns and at least get it on the radar of, hey, once we can gauge the popularity, we can start to work more formally on that. But again, obviously resources are limited, and we're focusing where we can for now. A couple of other questions. I will just pull this one up. While he's reading, I dig the Nintendo controller as your icon.
So will the Windows platform be officially supported in the future? Yes. At the moment, we're not at that point yet.
Fair. This is a safe space, so I'm not at all going to put you under pressure to pick dates. I know that is very much a bad thing to say. When is it going to be done? No. So cool. It's on radars. And then one more.
What about a better link between Kite and IntelliJ? I cannot answer that.
Yeah, that sounds like a new topic. We haven't heard about it from the
Yes.
community before. So if you want to discuss it more, I really encourage you to join the community meetings that we have every month. And you can bring this up there so that we can discuss it more in depth.
And I just pasted the Google group for that group. Okay, dynamite drop in, Jay. I just pasted the link to the Google group for that. So if you guys want to join. All right, perfect. We should be good for now if you guys want to keep going.
Okay, so I can start sharing my screen now. Hope that you can see it now. So once you install the Bazel plugin, as Justin explained, you get to see this new button here to import Bazel project to the IDE. And when you click that, it will ask you to select an existing Bazel workspace. So you should give the location of your workspace here. Right now, I will be using this greetings project, which is a simple Java project. I will be using it for this demo. It consists of like 4 packages, a greeting library package, which basically takes a greeting word and list of names and returns list of greetings. And I also have 3 other packages that use this greeting lib with different greeting words and just print out the greetings. So I should point to the directory that contains the workspace of my project and then click OK, next. And in the next step, you get to choose your project view file. So
real quick, we're not seeing the next step stuff. I think it's treating them as different windows.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that.
I'm actually surprised I noticed it because I'm usually juggling a bunch of different screens and not actually paying attention to the content.
Yeah. Let me just try to share the whole thing. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. And
yep, we're good.
Okay. Then when you click next, you get to see this project view file here. You need to select your project view. So in the project view file, you define how you want the plugin to import your code to import your project to the IDE and how to configure it. So you have a bunch of options. The first one is to let the plugin create that from scratch for you. And if we click this option, you can see that the plugin will create a default simple project view. It has a couple of sections. The first one is the directory section. And in this section, you list what directories you want to import in your project. You can set it to dot so that the entire workspace will be imported. You can also give the locations of specific directories, or you can say that you want the entire workspace except for a certain directory, for example, by adding this dash before the directory name. All directories listed here will be included recursively in the IDE, but the code inside of those directories, in order to resolve this code, it needs to be reachable from one of the targets that you list in the targets section. So the targets that you list here will be used by the plugin to run Bazel build on them during the sync operation. And during this operation, the plugin will learn about your project dependencies and other properties that it will use to properly set up your project within the IDE. So here it takes Bazel target expressions. So you can say, for example, from the hello package, you want the hello greeter target, or you can say from greeting lib, you want everything there. And you can also say that, okay, I want everything in greeting lib except for the greeting test, for example. So you can add this dash before the target name to exclude any targets you want. Another option for selecting targets is to just let the plugin do it. By enabling this drive targets from directories option, setting this to true will make the plugin tries to automatically find relevant targets under the directories that you set up here. And it will use some heuristics to select the best targets to use. It will also honor any directories that you explicitly excluded here. And also if you manually included or excluded any targets here, they will be considered as well. And there is also the additional languages section. So based on the IDE that you are using, the plugin will provide support to some languages by default. For example, here I'm using IntelliJ, so the plugin will support Java by default. But let's say that your project also contains Kotlin code and you want the plugin to support that as well. In this case, you need to uncomment Kotlin in this list and it will be supported by the plugin. There are also a couple of other sections that you can use to set more configurations to how you want your project to be imported. And you can find those in the plugin documentation website. You can go there by clicking this question mark here. So this is the first way to select your project view. The second way, if you already have project view file in your workspace, you can just give the plugin its location here. There is also the generate from build file option. And in this option, again, the plugin will try to create a project view file for you, but it will try to build it around a certain package in your project. So you need to point it to a build file in your project. And if you hit next, you will find that it will make the directories only the directory of the package that you selected, and everything else will be will have its default value. And again, you can edit it with whatever extra settings you want. And
yeah. I'm sorry, I was going to say, I wasn't sure when to break into this, but there's a question on the screen about multiple project files, view files.
Yeah, so if you have a project like mine, I have, as I said, 3, like we can call them runner packages that you can run the application with. And if one wants to just work on the hello part of the project, they can use this project view file. And if we looked at the contents of that, you can see that it only cares about the hello and greeting lib directories. So only those directories will be imported and you will focus your work around them. If someone else wants to work on the welcome part of the project, they can use this project view file. So if your project has multiple views, you can create multiple project view files, and the user get to choose which one to use based on what part of the projects they want to import and work on. Okay. The last option is copy external. So if you have a project view file outside your workspace and you want to use that, you can give the plugin its location here. I will be using the import project view file from a file that I already have, and I will be using the hello project view here. And as I said, these are the contents of my project view. I will only import these 2 directories, and I will let the plugin drive the targets from the directories. I'm not setting any additional targets. And I also highlight that I want to make the greeting lab /tests folder treated as a test source. And I don't need any additional languages, so I'm not uncommenting anything here. You can also uncheck this box here if you want to edit your project view. But right now I want to leave it as it is. And then you can click create.
So while that's generating, we have a question about create Bazel project button. I'm not quite sure if either of you can answer that.
Oh, okay. You're talking about if you don't have an already existing workspace, right? Right now, there's not a button for that, but there is a workaround where you can create a folder with just a workspace file in it, and you follow these steps, And in the project view step, you select the create from scratch one. And then you can, like your empty project will be imported, and then you can start adding files to it from the IDE. But we still don't have a button to create the project from the plugin.
Cool, thank you.
So once the project starts to be imported, you can see now start browsing through your code. And if we have, and you can also see that the plugin initiated a Bazel build on the targets that it got from the directories. And it learned about what dependencies your project needs, and it added those here under external libraries. So now you can start updating your code and so on. So this is my greeter class. As I said, it takes a list of names and outputs the greetings for them. It uses hello as a greeting word. You can jump to methods definitions, and from a class, you can open the corresponding build file for it, and it will take you to the target compiling this project, the source file. And there is also, during the sync operation as well, the plugin learns stuff about what binaries and tests your project has, and it provides these icons here to enable you to run binaries and tests from within the IDE. So here the hello greeter, it has, if we try to go to the build target of it, you can see that it's a Java binary target. And here we have this icon to run this Java binary. So if you click that, the hello greeter target will be run. And you can also debug it. So if we added a breakpoint here and we try to debug that, you can go through the code and step into methods or resume the program to completion, so on. And there's also the modify run configuration. So if you want to modify the run configurations that the plugin creates by default to enable this run and debug actions, you can click this button, and here you can add any Bazel flags that you want to use, or any executable flags that you want to pass to your executable. So let's say here we want to pass an actual argument to our program. And also here you can give the plugin allocation to a Bazel binary to use for running this binary, and unless otherwise it will just use the global one. And when you click OK and then rerun it again, you can see that it will pass the argument that we gave to the binary, and it will be used to greet. All the options, these actions are also available from the build file. So next to the Java binary target, you can see that you can run and debug and modify the run configurations as well. And we have similar actions for tests. So if you open the test class, like here I have this greeting test class, you can run the whole tests. So it will run the whole test class, or you can run a single method of it. So only this method is run. And you can also debug it. So if we added breakpoint, debug, yeah. And there is also run Bazel test with coverage. So it will run Bazel coverage, and it should give you coverage report somewhere here. So it says that my test covered 83% of my greeting Java class. And there is also the fast run and fast debug options. So this is an experimental feature that allows, in which the plugin tries to incrementally compile Java test rules without using Bazel. So when you choose fast run, for the first time, the plugin will use Bazel to compile your test and then run it. And during this operation, it will collect information about how your test should be run. so that the next time you try to run it, it will run it from Java outside of Bazel, and this should make the reruns of simple Java tests faster. So if we, for example, updated test method here, and then run fast run again, you can see that it's relatively faster. But again, because the plugin learns about your target at the first time, so if you changed any thing in the structure of your Java test target, for example, if you added a source file to it and then tried to rerun using fast run, the plugin won't be able to pick up these changes. So you will have to run again using this button that reruns the build from Bazel again, so that the plugin learns about these changes and then use it in the future reruns. And it's also available for debugging. And again, you can modify your run configurations. All these actions are again available from the build file next to the Java test target here. And all these actions that we have made resulted into run configurations that you can see in the list here. So you can select any of them and try to run them and debug them from the buttons up here as well. So that's about the run configurations. Let's go back to the sync operation. So we talked at the beginning about sync, that it's needed when you first import the project, during which the plugin runs Bazel build on the targets that you selected in your project view. And during this build, it learns more about your project dependencies and properties. If you, while editing and working on your project, updated those dependencies, you will need to rerun the sync so that the plugin learns about those changes and configure your project accordingly. So to rerun the sync, you can choose this button here, which performs an incremental sync. And in the incremental sync, what happens is that it runs Bazel build on all the targets from your project view, and then takes the results it got from the last Bazel build invocation and merges it with any cached results of previous syncs. There is also you can also run this action from the Bazel menu up here. So under the sync submenu, you can see the same action here, and this also runs an incremental sync. There is a non-incrementally sync, and in this action, the plugin will ignore any previous cached state that's keeping about the project, and will only depend on the result of the Bazel build to build the new state of your project. You can use that if you see that some old artifacts are being referenced and you want to make sure that you're building everything freshly, so you can use the non-incrementally sync. There is also the sync working set, and you can call that a kind of partial sync, because it does not run Bazel build on all the targets in your project view. Instead, it checks your working set. So the working set is the files that you modified in your project, and the plugin will find what files you have modified and then tries to find what targets compile those files, and it will only build those targets in the Bazel build invocation. So only those modified files will be refreshed during the sync working set. So this should be faster if you just want to refresh the files that you are working on. So you don't need to use incremental or non-incremental syncs, which will again build all the targets that you have. So let's try this out. So you can see here that it tries to compute the working set. So it finds that I have modified the greeting test file. Then it checks what target builds this file. That's the greeting test in the greeting lab package. So in the build, you can see that this target and only this target is being built. There is also the partially sync option, and if you selected this action, only this file will be refreshed. So we will get the target that compiles this file, and only this target will be built. So again, this is a faster option for syncing only a specific target. You can also run the partial sync from the file itself. So right-clicking on the File tab, and you get to see the partial sync here. Or you can run it on whole package. So if you want to partially sync this whole directory, you get to see it here as well. Okay, there is also the sync directories without or no Bazel build. So this performs the first part of the sync operation, which sets up your directories in the IDE without actually running Bazel build. So your directory will be brought inside the IDE, but since no Bazel build is run, your files will be marked as, any files under this directory will be marked as unresolved, and you may find some unresolved references inside of it because we need to run Bazel build to learn about what dependencies these files need, and then bring those dependencies to the IDE. So if we are going to try this, let's try to add a new directory to our project. So you can open your project view file from here, from the project submenu. And that's the project view file that we use to import the project in the first step. So let's say that we want to add the welcome directory. So any changes that you make to your project view will require a sync so that the plugin learns about them and applies any changes to your IDE instance. So if you run an incremental sync, this directory will be brought, but also it will run a Bazel build on all the targets it drives from the new list of directories now. And we don't want to do that. So we just want to try like sync directories without build. So when you choose that, it will give you this warning saying that we won't run Bazel build. So you may have some sources marked as unsynced, but we are okay with that. So we can just run sync. And you can see that the welcome directory is here now, but the file under it, which is the welcome greeter, is marked as unsynced. And if you try to run it, for example, you will find that it tells you nothing here because the plugin needs a Bazel build to understand which target actually runs this file, and based on this information, it will enable you with the actions here. So you can fix that by running a partial sync. And now you should be able to see these actions and use them. There is also the clean project targets action. So if you are, what this action does is that it removes any stale targets from the internal state of your project kept by the plugin. So if you see any references that the plugin is trying to use an old target that you already removed or renamed, you can use this action to remove any references of that old target. There is also the expand sync to working set, and this is an option. If you enabled it, what will happen is that your sync operations will be expanded so that the files that you modified will be also refreshed, even if they are not reachable by the targets defined in your project view. So if you enable this, the plugin will look for what files you modified, tries to get the targets that compile those files, and add them as targets to the Bazel build invocation that it initiates during syncs. And there's also the show performance warnings. If you enable this option, you will get warnings about and hints about how you can adjust your project to improve your sync operation performance. There is also the build subset here. It has two actions, compile project and compile file. And these two actions will, the compile project will build all the projects in your file. It will not affect the sync state. Instead, it will just run the Bazel build and give you the result of that. So if you just want to make sure that your project compiles without changing the sync state, you can use that. And the same for compiling a file. So you need to be really pointing to a file, and it will be active.
Let me jump in here. We've got a couple questions, and I want to make sure we get a chance to at least ask them before the time runs out here.
Yeah.
We'll start with most recent one here. And I'm starting with this because I actually understand the question here. So is there a way of automatically triggering the IntelliJ sync, or the sync inside of IntelliJ, please?
Yeah, we surprisingly, the code for that is there in the plugin code, but it's not enabled. So I have looked a bit at the history of this part of code, and I found that a comment saying if there is enough like requests from the users to enable that for Bazel, we can enable it. So if you really need it, maybe we can start enabling.
Cool. Yeah, no danger can happen from enabling code that has been disabled for whatever reason. This will be completely fine. I love this plan. I'll let you just read this one. Okay, so the whole comment is on here.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't get it. Should I continue or?
Do you see the question I have up now from Sergio?
No.
Oh, right. You don't. Sorry, you're not.
Yeah.
I see what you're seeing. Okay. Okay. Now that it's up, I'll read it. The next one, I will read out loud so we don't have to deal with the inception.
Such changes and blocks the first run, or does it still run with stale assumptions? Yeah, I think it will run but fail. And so if it fails, you get this button to rerun it with Bazel.
You know, while you have this up, I might as well just pull this one up too, because I don't feel like reading this out loud.
Okay. When I try to create a Java project inside does not the directory structure?
And then he follows up with,
yeah.
I guess there's a match missing, does not match the directory structure.
I'm not sure about this one.
okay, we can, who was that one from? Nicholas, feel free to take that one to Slack, or if you want to email me personally, I'll kind of filter it over to them. Let's see. Did I ask this one about detecting changes?
Yeah, we already covered it.
Okay, cool. There was one. Okay, here we go. I want to make sure I covered this too.
Mm-hmm.
There is a follow-up saying recompiles when run an IntelliJ, switch to another terminal and do a Bazel run, and it recompiles again. So it seems like back and forth between terminals, it is constantly rebuilding. Now, there were some follow-ups here. Someone's talking about a particular flag that could be used. Shudong also offered a couple of suggestions, but I figured I would ask if there was something that immediately popped into mind for you.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was that one? Todd, feel free to reach out if that one's still snagging you after this. Did you have a lot left? Because we're basically at time, but we could run a little bit late if you have more you wanted to cover.
Yeah, no, I think that's basically it. The last part was the sync operation, so we covered most of that. Yeah.
Cool. With that, perfect. We'll end exactly on the minute. Thank you to everyone who came and asked questions. Obviously, feel free to continue them in chat. I will once again post, let's see, all of my links going in here. The survey this month, very quick, but I'd like to know about IDE usage. We're trying to get just a general view of what people are using, what they're specifically interested in for the IntelliJ plugin. So love it if you fill that out. Once again, going in chat is the Google group for the IntelliJ SIG. If you're more interested in following this stuff or getting involved, feel free to reach out to them. Again, thank you to all the questions. Thank you, Mai, for waking up nice and early. Justin, thank you for staying up nice and late for us. And I just kind of ride the middle here in the East Coast. So thank you to you two. I've been Jason, and we will see you next month. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks.